Hey guys, welcome back. It's time we're going to get AI to teach us how to invest in Pokemon cards, and then maybe we won't need the Pokemon investment channels. So we can get rid of those. We can replace them with our friend, the robot Pokemon investor. Let's see what it has to say when we ask it. What are the best Pokemon TCG items to invest in? Thank you very much for Steven, who sent me this. Let's have a look, see what it tells us. We'll see if we can't follow this advice and make a fortune. The AI says the Pokemon trading card game, TCG, is a collectible card game that has been popular for many years. As with any collectible item, the value of Pokemon trading card game cards can fluctuate based on a variety of factors such as rarity, condition, and demand. Very nice. Here are a few items that are considered to be good investments in the Pokemon TCG. All right, you guys ready for this? Number 1, we have rare and hard to find cards. That's a good start. Cards that are rare or hard to find tend to be more valuable, especially if they are in good condition. I mean, it's all pretty true so far. Examples of rare cards include first edition and holographic cards. So, even though there are first edition cards, especially the first edition base set, where the first edition counterpart is more rare than the unlimited versions. It's not really necessarily an always rule, like it's making it sound. Even I'm sure there's some sets in English that are like that. The first edition run was pretty large, and for that reason, like the price difference isn't that much, or as significant as it is with like first edition base. There's also some sets in Japanese where the first edition is actually more common than the unlimited version. So you got to be careful with that. Sometimes you get some really pricey cards that are in the Japanese unlimited just because the first edition run was, I guess, so big that they didn't really need the unlimited or as much of the unlimited. Pretty sure there's also some. I'm not the biggest expert in the Japanese realm of things, but pretty sure there's also some that don't have an unlimited copy whatsoever. So just entirely first edition. All right, you guys ready for number 2? Let's see what we got here. Promo cards. Promo cards are cards that are distributed at events or through special promotions and are usually limited in number. These cards are often considered more valuable than regular cards. Yes and no, AI. Yes and no. Yes, typically distributed at events or through like special products. Definitely not more limited in number than something that's like a chase card from a set. Certain promo cards, yes, definitely. Like a lot of the stamped stuff is pretty rare. But in general, probably not a rule of thumb. If you just like straight up started buying promo cards, you get a lot of very inexpensive promo cards that were very widespread. I'm trying to think of like the most widespread, like Ancient Mew. Even though, I guess maybe that's not a good example, because even though we had a ginormous amount of them, even though they're just everywhere, all over the place, it's still popular enough that it retained value and went up in value over time. But there are a lot of promo cards, even old ones, that are very inexpensive. All right, complete sets. I'm going to have to, even though I like my complete sets, I'm going to hard disagree on this one already without reading it. Number 3, complete sets. Complete sets of cards, including all the cards from a particular expansion, can be valuable because they are hard to find and are often sought after by collectors. So, I don't think so. Most people that are collecting sets kind of want to collect the set themselves. Not that they wouldn't purchase the set, but as I've told people before, even though my collection is largely based on trying to collect complete sets, the fact that it's a complete set usually, if not always, doesn't result in a higher value. In terms of selling, I think it should equal the amount of like the individual cards combined. But most of the time, someone isn't going to pay a premium for a complete set over just the individual cards. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Maybe there's got to be exceptions with certain cards that are like super rare, certain sets or subsets or sets of promos or something that maybe the complete set gets a little bit more money. but for the most part, it's not any greater than the sum of its parts. And even sometimes, like, depending on how much time or effort you want to put into selling it, usually breaking it up is the better way to go, but not always. Again, it's very hard for AI or for anyone to answer this type of question or these type of questions or these type of areas, because there's no set rule for any of this stuff. It's hard. It's hard. Graded cards. Number 4. Graded cards are cards that have been evaluated and given a grade by a professional grading company. These cards are considered more valuable because their condition has been certified. So, again, guys, you guys know I'm not a fan of graded cards. I think that you watching this video right now, given some time in the hobby, if you don't already have it, you could easily exceed the expertise of whoever is putting your cards in plastic. And no, it does not always mean that your graded card is going to be more expensive. I think that was maybe the biggest misconception and probably what cost people the most money in the boom that we had recently. The fact that people didn't realize that you can't just put anything into a graded case and it should be worth more money. That was never sustainable. That was never going to happen. Same way the prices, the way that they skyrocketed. You just it can't keep going up forever, and certainly not at that rate. That is not sustainable growth. And as we've seen with the grading companies, a lot of people cracking their cards out of these no-name grading companies, or even the ones that you would probably consider top 3 or 4. A lot of those are getting cracked and put into PSA cases. Prior to the boom, there was basically no premium for anything that was graded unless it was in a PSA case and it was a high grade, or if it was in a BGS case, if it was like a black label, or if it was something big like a Charizard and it got a 10, a BGS 10, then people might treat that as a more valuable or sought after card than the PSA 10, which can, there's a range within there, but that kind of plays into everything, because the grading companies are never going to be spot on every time. I've seen it. The lower grades basically don't matter. You can take lower grades. I guarantee it. Send them in, and more often than not, they're not going to get the same grade. It's just kind of how it works. They're not spending a lot of time. They can't hire experts because that would be too expensive. So you're better off being your own expert. If you want to collect the graded cards, by all means do so, but make sure that you know how to look for authenticity and that you're checking if it's misgraded or not. So you can't just blindly collect something that's in a graded case, regardless of the grading company. You still got to know. They've graded fake cards. They've graded fake stamps. They've graded, they put stuff in upside down. They put mayonnaise on it sometimes. It's bad. You got to know what you're looking at regardless. It's not this like fail-safe super buffer plus where you can just grade anything. It's worth money. Or you could just buy a grade and trust the grade and not look at the card. Buy the card, not the grade. And don't grade things that are not worth grading. If the card is worth less than the cost to put it in the plastic, it's junk slab and you shouldn't do it. Number 5, we have high demand cards. That's a good one. Some cards have a high demand among collectors and players. These cards are considered good investment options because of the high demand for them. So you want to be real careful here with the high demand, because they're in high demand for players, especially if it's standard format, because those rotate out and they will get the big old D. They will definitely drop in value, and you don't want to be stuck holding a bunch of playable cards that are going to be cut in half, if not worse, or they get reprinted. And the Pokemon Company likes to do that. They'll reprint cards that are playable in order to bring the cost of them down. Marnie being a great example. That was expensive when Sword and Shield base came out. It was very hard to get a Marnie. Then Marnie was in everything ever in existence. Every single pre-constructed deck, different variants of it. We had the Marnie milk carton that had 4 Marnies in it. There were Marnies everywhere. Still playable. A fraction of the value of what it was. If you had them at that point in time, you should not have been, unless you're playing with them, sitting on Marnies. Don't sit on Marnies. All right. It's important to note that the popularity of Pokemon TCG fluctuates over time, and the value of the cards are also affected by the market conditions. So, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, we saw that recently. There was a huge spike, and popularity died down. The hype died down quite a bit. Still, well, we're still pretty much at a high, I think. There's still a lot of people interested in Pokemon. I mean, there's going to be some percentage of people that got interested just for the sake of the fact that everyone was into it for a little while. It's kind of like 1999. There's a certain like retention value, or a certain amount of people that are going to stick around and want to be in the hobby. A certain amount of people that are going to quit and they'll come back maybe years later. Again, the attention span of most collectors, from what I've seen, is like a year. If you make it over a year collecting Pokemon cards, you're doing pretty good. And the longer you're in the hobby, it didn't the AI didn't mention this, but the longer you're in the hobby, the better you are. Typically, stuff is going to go up in value slowly over time. If you're accumulating product, if you're making good deals, and everything doesn't have to be a home run, super deal, supreme. If you're making good decisions, you're collecting, you're acquiring stuff, you're trading for stuff, you're selling some stuff off to fund other things within the hobby, you're becoming more knowledgeable. And again, guys, very easy to become more knowledgeable than any of these people that are grading your cards. You're gonna do good. I promise. It's not going anywhere. Yes, there's gonna be ups and downs, but you'll be all right. You're gonna be okay. It's always best to do your own research and consult with experts in the field before making any investments. So that's the thing here too. I'm not really a fan of this statement. Well, I like the first part where it says do your own research and consult with experts. But I mean, I think more importantly is doing your own research, learning about the hobby, learning about the field, but yourself. Don't rely on somebody else to tell you what to buy. They don't have magic answers. No one knows. You got to make some educated guesses. Spread yourself out. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Buy some stuff. Get engaged. If you don't like the hobby, you shouldn't be investing in Pokemon. If you don't like Pokemon, if you don't want to learn Pokemon, there's no way you should be taking someone's advice and dumping your money into it. There are better avenues to make money than Pokemon. But if you do love Pokemon, you can do very well. All right, last little paragraph here. It's also important to keep in mind that the value of these cards will depend on the condition of the card. So it's important to ensure they are stored in a way that preserves their condition as much as possible. So again, little thing at the end here. I agree completely. You want to make sure that you're not too moist. Make sure you got a dehumidifier. If you live somewhere that is the moisture will be an issue. They do not need to be in graded cases. Keep them out of direct sunlight or they will fade regardless of whether they're in a case or not. We've seen it before. Moisture is an issue whether they're in a graded case or not. It's not airtight, so they'll get all curly inside the case. So you gotta keep them somewhere that's dry, climate controlled, clean sleeves, whatever you gotta do. If you've got ringed binders, be very careful with those. But for the most part, whether you want to use top loaders, keep them away from dirt and dust if you can. Keep them away from anywhere. If flooding is an issue, keep them off the floor in any area that could possibly flood. Stuff like that. Away from any tobacco and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it. I thought this was kind of interesting. I think it hits some good points, even though it's clearly just making general assumptions on what is good or bad, but still kind of fun to read through and give my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think. Are we getting there? Can AI tell us what to buy or not? Probably not. All right, join the Discord. See you next time. Love you guys. Bye.